Wait, no, I have to know. Okay, what are you have a good kick in. Is it going to be like the William Shatner thing?
No, why are you trying to find out? Just let it happen organically.
What's the thing that he says though? It's like
just shut your mouth, okay? Let me get into my special intro.
I don't think that's what he says.
What are you trying to say? What do you want him to say?
No, never mind. No, I think we killed it.
Stardate 561. Randall was being such a jerkhaven today, trying to find out my special brew.
Yeah, I was looking for something like that. Okay, good.
There's someone on the wing. Something. All right, should we get started?
It is my favorite episode of Star Trek ever.
Which one?
The one where the gremlin ate William Shatner on an airplane.
What?
You heard me.
Did you know that there's a Star Trek Voyager episode where Janeway turns into a fish?
I did not.
And has a relationship with the pilot as a fish? Star Trek.
Okay, I have to move us on.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
I don't know how we recover from that.
Welcome to the RPGBOT.Podcast. I'm Randall James, and with me is Tyler Kamstra.
Hi, everybody.
And Ashila.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship RPGBOT. Its continuing mission to explore strange new TTRPG systems, to seek out new rules and new ways of fulfillment, to boldly go where many nerds have gone before. Da, 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 da. So you were wrong. It wasn't original series. It was Next Generation.
You got us good.
What do you think about dice mechanics?
Dice mechanics. Dang it. I should have done that.
So I can't wait to find new Discreet Math. That was beautiful, and I loved it. Yeah, no, we're here tonight. We're doing it. So the Starfinder 2nd edition playtest is out, and tonight we're going to be talking about it. But before we do that, I legit have to ask a question / make a confession. I, Randall James, don't have a lot of experience with Starfinder. What is the promise of the Starfinder setting besides generic space opera?
That's pretty much it. I don't know what more you want.
No,
but if you're asking like what the difference is, what's the appeal for this over Spelljammer, I will say for me personally, I resonate more with Starfinder than I do with Spelljammer, because Spelljammer feels like pretty much explicitly D&D but in space. Like, it's still functionally a fantasy setting. People are still using bows and arrows and catapults and stuff like that, and they're flying on like actual ships, not like spaceships, like ships. So the thing that so it's still, even though it advertises itself as like science fantasy, it is still very much in the realm of fantasy. I would say it's very much still high fantasy. It's just now we're in a pseudo space-like environment, but still functionally fantasy. It's still medieval fantasy. The thing that I like about Starfinder that scratches a different itch for me is it's fully what I would call science fantasy. So if we have a spectrum where on the left side we have fantasy, on the right side we have science fiction, Spelljammer, it comfortably sits right, I would say, in the middle between fantasy and the middle of that sort of odometer. Yeah, that first quadrant. Whereas Starfinder sits right in the center of that odometer. It's very much like, so if you like Star Wars, you're going to like Starfinder, because that's basically what it is. You have starships, not like sailing ships, but in space, full-blown starships. If you're using a bow and arrow, you're probably an uncontacted person on a distant planet. We're talking computers, we're talking hacking, we're talking AI, like energy guns, tech weapons. So it's still got that technological sort of thing that really a lot of people like about hard science fiction or even soft science fiction, but it incorporates elements of fantasy, like in Star Wars, where you have you have blaster rifles, you have starships, but you also have space wizards. So it's essentially what this is. So that's why me personally, I like Starfinder more because it's a marriage between fantasy and science fiction, whereas Spelljammer is just more D&D.
I love Steph's in the chat saying it's like faster than light travel, huh? Anybody like that? It's like, yeah, faster than light travel is great, but Steph, don't forget, in Spelljammer, I can propel myself with my mind.
Right.
That's true.
Now I'm trying to remember. There's a really weird thing when it comes to faster than light travel in Starfinder. I think that, and people can correct me on this, I'm not as familiar with Starfinder as other people are, but people are only able to do faster than light travel because the gods allow them to.
Oh, okay. I read up on this.
Yeah.
I had to speed read a couple of basic things about Starfinder. So there was this thing called the Gap.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what happened. It was 300-ish years. Collectively, the entire setting, nobody knows what happened. And then everybody is suddenly alert again post the Gap. And then like 2 or 3 years later, a trio of deities said, we're just going to give mortals the secret to faster than light travel.
Yeah.
And then every mortal species simultaneously is given knowledge of how to build faster than light travel machinery. Now, depending on the species level of technology, it took them varying times to actually implement that. But like massive technological leap forward, everyone is suddenly spacefaring and can travel between the stars.
Yeah. So I do want to go back and talk about the Gap for a second because it's really important. So people are going to be like, how does this relate to Pathfinder at all? They take place in the same universe functionally. So it's kind of like in Spelljammer. But the difference is Golarion, the planet where Pathfinder 2 lore and Pathfinder 1 lore takes place, disappeared. And nobody knows what happened to it. It just functionally stopped existing. And the Gap was during this 300-year gap. That's when Golarion disappeared. And everybody in the universe or whatever that was related to Golarion functionally forgot about what happened during that 300-year gap. It was like everybody had a collective fugue state. It's really cool. A really cool premise. Like you can put a lot of interesting revelations and stuff. Like you can make a whole campaign about Starfinders, which are the equivalent of Pathfinders in Pathfinder. Starfinder's quest to discover what happened to Golarion and what happened during the Gap. Like you can just put whatever you want in there, and it's really cool.
So Steph is saying in the chat, the Gap's actually an unknown amount of time, but the critical thing being that it ended about 300-ish years ago.
Yeah. She's right.
Thank you, Steph.
I thought 300 was a little bit short. Yeah, because I remember hearing that it was like at least a millennia. It was like thousands of years. And so, yeah, it ended recently. And yeah,
relatively recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really cool idea. Like, imagine if, even where we as a society are right now, imagine if our written history only went back to the 1800s, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of a sudden we've got written records of what's happening, and the Industrial Revolution happened, except for in this case, we have faster than light travel and we can travel to the stars and meet like crazy ancestries that we've never seen before.
Yeah, it's sort of like we know that the Industrial Revolution happened and all this crazy technology came from. Where did it come from? Like, who discovered how did this technology come about? Nobody knows. That's essentially the situation that people have found themselves in, is like, where did these starships and stuff come from? Nobody knows.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the Starfinder playtest. Like, why are we calling this a playtest? What is it going to mean? When does Starfinder 2 come out? Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, Tyler, when you were doing research for this, you found a bit of an Easter egg that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. On the Starfinder wiki page for The Gap, one paragraph ends with, one thing that is certain is that the Pact World system and all systems associated with it base their calendar year 0 after Gap, or AG in parentheses, from the date that system emerged from the Gap, with the current year, month, and day being 2024, August 11. It is currently August 11th, 2024. And for a second, I thought we had stumbled on a very, very fun coincidence until Rocco just looked at the code for the wiki page and it's just set to show the current date. So they got me. They tricked me good.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've gone through that together, okay.
Yeah.
There is a free PDF available from Paizo online. We will put a link in the show notes. And so if you haven't gone and gotten a copy of it, go get a copy of it right now. Read it, give feedback. Better yet, play a game and give feedback.
Yeah.
In the playtest material, there's instructions for how to give feedback. This is very much meant to be an interactive playtest timeline between, people who are passionate about Starfinder, new players coming to the game, generally having the opportunity to shape what the game is going to be until finally they put out actually the Starfinder 2 books. The goal for that is a year from now, right?
Gen Con next year, 2025. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a year to shape this thing, which means we have less than a year because, it has to go to the publishers. There's that whole thing. But
yeah, I like that Paizo seems to be doing this with a lot of their material is they'll release playtest versions of classes or other things and get player feedback and then just make it. It feels more of like the community is heavily involved in the creation of the system, which is cool. So yeah, if you want to have a say in how Starfinder shapes out, if you don't like that they combined the precog and the witch warper together, you can go tell them that.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm in favor of it, but we'll get to that later.
What would you call that kind of playtest? Like the unearthed codec? I'm making an unearthed arcana joke.
Yeah.
For everything that we could say.
Hacked infosphere. Let's go with that. That feels
it's no longer a playtest. It's a hacked infosphere. Okay, cool. All right. So now that we laid out what the playtest is, when does Starfinder 2 actually come out? Let's go and talk about it. What is in the playtest book?
Okay. So before we get into the specific player options and stuff, so the book tells you that you need Player Core 1 to play. You are using the core rules of Pathfinder unmodified, exactly as written in the remaster. So if you know how to play Pathfinder, you're done. You know how to play Starfinder with very tiny exceptions.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, that's nice that they did that. This is actually just continuing a trend from Starfinder 1 because Starfinder 1 worked the exact same way. If you had, it was a system that was built on top of Pathfinder 1. So if you had Pathfinder 1, well, you needed to have Pathfinder 1 in order to play Starfinder 1. I would actually argue that Starfinder 1 was less overly complicated and ridiculous than Pathfinder 1 was and more balanced. But yeah, so that's just continuing a trend.
Yeah. All right. So there's also sidebars for a bunch of different things in the book. There's one for each class. There's a few in spells. They're scattered throughout the book. But there's sidebars explaining the designer's intent for a given thing. What do they want each class to feel like? What do they imagine its role to be? How do they expect people to interact with it? And specific things that they want players to look for when they're playtesting and providing feedback. And I found it really interesting. These sidebars are using the same terminology that we've been using for years on RPGBot, very character optimizer-ish terminology. The Solarian is described as a striker. The soldier is described as a tank. We use the word defender on RPGBot. That's a whole separate discussion. But they're using those same kind of roles and terms to describe where a class or whatever fits into the game. So it's interesting to see. I have to wonder if the developers arrived at those terms after stealing them from 4th edition I did, or if maybe Paizo actually reads our content enough.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I think I talked to some people that worked at Paizo at Big Bad Con and they knew RPGBot. So
nice.
Yeah.
Feels good.
But yeah, no, I really liked these sidebars. It feels like you get an insight into how the developers create a thing. And it helps you understand okay, so if you're what were they going for here? And then sometimes there's a sidebar and it's just this is what we were thinking. It's okay, that makes sense. It really makes you feel like you're part of the development team, which I think is really cool. And I wish more companies would do this. Watsy, cough, cough.
Yeah, 2 years of unearthed arcana and not one bit of text on what the actual intent was.
Yeah, that would be nice.
At least we got the video interviews, I guess, but still.
Nobody watches those. They're too long-winded and they feel like advertisements.
I want to give Watsy credit for trying, though. There was a lot of unearthed arcana. There were a lot of ideas tried. But positive feedback, though, giving that intent, regardless of what we actually pulled off, here's what we were trying to go for. Let us know how it went. Bold move. Let's do that next time.
Yeah.
Stuff in the chat. Ask your DM for the intent.
Yeah. No, I mean, credit. It's a good one. Credit where it's due. I'm to WotC. At least the one D&D felt like a community collaborative creation, but I think that WotC listened maybe a little bit too much to the community who didn't want this edition to happen anyway. So it just functionally ended up not being all that much of a change. But this is a different situation here because this is just a full new system.
And the community is literally banging down doors saying, like, let us in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. So let's jump into some content. Ancestries. So there are 10 ancestries in the book. They look like they overlap pretty heavily with the Starfinder First Edition list of races. Androids, human, Isoki, aka rat folk, like those are also in Pathfinder Second Edition, but there's a sidebar saying like these androids, those androids, completely different androids, and they shall not cross.
Yeah.
Conversely, humans or rat folk, exact same thing. You can trade feats back and forth.
So
Beautiful.
why don't we go briefly touch on each ancestry and say what we just like our initial thoughts on each of them, because I think some of them are cool.
Sure.
Androids. I mean, they're
Robotic.
Androids. Yeah.
I like an android.
Yeah, I do like that they have a feature called emotionally unaware.
It's
so that
perfect. It makes sense. Yeah.
They have a -1 penalty to diplomacy and performance checks and on perception checks to sense motive. So like you offend someone, it's like, I do not understand why the meat bag thought that my joke was offensive. Yeah. Barathu. Yeah, they are. This is a weird one.
Yeah, they're like space squids.
Oh no, I love that. Yeah,
jellyfish.
This was
Yeah.
okay. If for nothing else, then at level 17, the Barathu basically gets to cosplay as Venom. Like you become a suit for another creature, and they wear you around while you do stuff together. It's going to be great.
I don't see a lot of like non-humanoid races in tabletop games, and this is just a full like you're a space jellyfish. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You get to play a gelatinous cube, and it's going to be wonderful. Okay, another one of the event. They have a feature called something like vent gas. I think that's actually what it's called. Where literally you just vent gas as you move across the room, and you leave an opaque cloud, so anybody in the cloud can't see out. They're obscured. Anything outside of it can't see into the cloud.
You just fart. And leave.
But it propels you. You actually get a movement bonus when you do it.
I love that.
Wow. That is some cartoon physics.
Something that I think is going to make the Barathu a pretty popular race for optimizers is genetic adaptation, which allows them to retrain an ancestry feat in one day as opposed to a week, which is just, that's so good. Like it makes you super adaptable. Like if you know you're about to get into some interesting stuff, you can just say, give me a day and I'll retrain some stuff.
Well, they had a feed. Now I'm trying to find it real quick. I can't remember what the name of the feature was. You might have it in front of you, where you also convergent evolution, I think was what it was called. You can reach into other ancestries and pull that in. So you actually get to borrow ancestry feats from other.
So convergent evolution, I have it here. You sample the genetic code of creatures and people you contact and mimic them. When you take this feat, select up to 3 different ancestries with which you've had significant contact. You can select the ancestry feat from the ancestries you chose in addition to Barathu ancestry feats. Additionally, you gain 1 ancestry feat you qualify for of 5th level or lower from one of the selected ancestries. You can retrain the selected feat once per day during your daily preparation. That's very cool. I love that. Yeah, that's real cool. Oh yeah, I got
gills.
Also, every race gets their own heritages, and they're all very cool. Yeah, I like them. Like androids, what you are specifically built for is what your subrace is, and that's fun.
We're failing the test though.
Yeah, humans. They're humans.
They sure are.
Kasatha, they are interesting. They remind me the most of kind of like the Protoss in terms of like their look.
Yeah, the like cone heads, blue.
Yeah,
they also have 4 arms, which is neat.
Yeah, and they have a feature called 4-armed, which allows you to designate 2 arms that are doing a task, and you can do something else with your other 2 arms. It's very cool. Yeah, their lore is also really awesome because they're from a dying star, and so like. One of the sub races is you're called a Kasath survivalist, which is instead of getting on the Exodus ship to get away from your dying planet, you chose to stay on the planet and became like a badass survivor before eventually leaving for whatever reason. It's very cool. And they also have Stellar Nomad subclass, which allows them to take they have an edict and an anathema that plays into their which you don't see a lot for ancestries, but they can take edict and anathemas and their features from other cultures and factions that they come into contact with based on, where you go in the solar system, which is so cool. I mean, the galaxy, not the solar system. But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I like them. Lashunta, humans with antenna.
Yeah, this looks like Star Trek, the original series level alien. It's like, we only have the budget for a weird hat.
I will say the cool thing that's cool about them is that they have dimorphic heritages. They are basically like space elves. Like there's the Damaya Lashunta and the Korasha Lashunta. They're basically space elves and space dwarves because the Damaya Lashunta are basically described as like more tall, elegant, and like worldly. So they're like make good diplomats and stuff. And the Korasha are short, stocky, and stronger. So elf, dwarf. Basically, once they come of age, they basically decide which of the two divergent paths their body dimorphism will go to. Or you can be an unbound Lashunta, where you don't get any of the attribute bonuses from the other two, but you do get a special ability, which is a reaction that allows you to refuse to conform to the will of others. If you have a will, if you attempt a saving throw against a mental effect, you refuse to conform to the will of others, and you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws on the triggering save and other saves against mental effects until the start of your next turn, which is cool. You're basically like a rebel.
Rocco is saying in the chat, apparently Lashunta come from the same planet as elves and they don't like each other.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is neat.
Oh, I thought these were called Pathras, but they're Patras, I'm just realizing.
Yeah.
I love them. They're my favorite. They're so
but they're
cute.
Not catfolk. They're distinct from catfolk. How dare you?
Yeah, which is going to be weird in a second because the rat folk are completely indistinct, and we have to remember that somehow. Okay, keep going.
I mean, so the catfolk, I would say the main difference is the catfolk look like panthers and tigers were made into people. The patras look like house cats that were made into people, and they're adorable. And I love them, and they're perfect in every way, except they have an attribute flaw in Constitution. Boo!
We all have problems,
but they're so cute.
I like them. They're cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we have probably Tyler's least favorite, which is the Shirin.
Kill on sight.
They're an insectoid people. Which, first off, I think their concept is really cool. They were once part of a faction called the Swarm, which are basically, they're the Zerg from StarCraft.
Yeah.
They were a hive mind bent on destroying the entire galaxy. The Shirin are people who managed to break away from the hive mind for whatever reason. And they're very cool. I like them too. I know that Tyler will want to kill them on sight, but I think there's something cute about them.
No, I love the Zerg.
I think they're neat, and I think their lure is cool. I just never want to see a picture of any of them ever again.
Yeah, the picture for the Shirin looks kind of like a millipede.
Yeah,
but
it's just teeth instead of legs.
It's teeth instead of legs.
Look at it.
Is it?
It is cute. I think it looks cute. I think that
those aren't teeth; they're decoration.
I'm imagining a bubbly little shopkeeper who's just like, "Welcome to my shop."
It's as if there was if I described to you like a insectoid fairy, you'd be like, that's just flying bugs. And then I'd show you this picture and you'd be like, oh, that's worse.
I mean, ladybugs are cute. So I don't know.
This ain't that.
Probably the one that's going to be very popular with people, and I'm excited for, is the Skittermander. God, they're so adorable. I love them so much. They just live to please people.
They're just fuzzy little guys.
Yeah, they have 6 arms. I believe they had a statue at Gen Con. Is that right?
Yeah.
They have 2.
That's so cute.
Only one of a Skittermander, though. I think. They had the goblin.
I have to go back and look at my pictures now.
Yeah. I think they had the kobold hidden somewhere, too.
Okay.
For those who don't have the book in front of them, the best way I can describe this is imagine Stitch with 6 arms from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
It's essentially what they look like.
Yeah, 100%. But that is absolutely perfect.
Now, if you open the playtest PDF and look at the art for the Skittermander on page 36, that is the Skittermander they had a statue of. And for folks not looking at the PDF, the best way I could describe this was, imagine you took a fuzzy, 8-armed, 3-foot tall space alien and took it to Claire's.
Yes, it's very like glam punk sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like she's wearing a see-through, like a kind of vaguely
Listen to Avril Lavigne 20 years ago.
Yeah, vaguely translucent skirt with a bow tie for a belt. Adorable. A shirt with like a neon glamored, like bedazzled star. They have pink. They have just like multicolored. Like pink is a big theme here. Like pink on everything, but also pink hair with more colored hair that's like sort of put into that pixie cut punk like cut. And then she has a Walkman. Oh my god, I love it so much. Yeah. It's like, so good.
Did they arrive at that detail independently, or did they see Guardians of the Galaxy and be like, that?
Yes.
Could be
both. So
yeah.
It's also worth saying, so in the playtest book, so Captain Concierge is your guide through the playtest book. And a little picture appears here and there. Also a Skittermander.
Yes.
He's wearing a captain's hat.
Yes.
That way you know he's a captain.
Mm-hmm.
So Steph, Stitch has 4 arms and 2 legs. This one has 3 sets of arms and 2 legs. So that's why I said Stitch, but with more arms.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
So tell me about these Vesk. They look like Trandoshans.
It's basically what they are.
Okay.
They're lizard men in space. They're basically
lizard men in space.
In terms of like lore. In terms of lore, they're basically Klingons. They're they're very warmongering, honor bound sort of culture. Yeah, they're cool.
Grumpy lizard people. Grumpy lizard people. Steph says.
And then we have the Ahsoki, which are just rat folk. That's all they are.
Literally rat folk.
Yeah, they're literally rat folk. Like you can take rat folk ancestry feats. So yeah.
I'm still surprised that in the remastered they didn't just change it from rat folk to Ahsoki. Like that one baffled me.
Okay, I'm maybe reading way too much into this, but I get almost a like Douglas Adams-esque, like when they were on Galarian, nobody was allowed to know that they were actually running large parts of the universe. But now that you're already in space and traveling, will reveal to you, in fact, that. So
you mean, that is kind of like Hitchhiker's Out of the Galaxy or Warhammer, where the Skaven technically have a whole vast under empire that nobody knew about.
What Earth-like creature did they represent?
Rats.
Oh, okay. Literally the same thing. Okay.
Skaven, probably my favorite depiction of rat folk in any sort of media. I think the Skaven are rad. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. They also added 2 versatile heritages, it looks like. The first is a Borai, which is basically like you're basically a Promethean, like someone that was brought back to life or reawakened, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the description is this could be like a failed revivification. That might be what happened to you. It could be like necromancy or, techno-necromancy. That might be what happened to you. You also might just be a stubborn jerk who is like, death? Nah.
Yeah. Then the other one they added was the Prismeni, which is basically people who are suffused with energy from the drift. And the drift is basically the sort of demi-plane that starships travel on when they're doing faster than light travel. So basically something happened to you while you were traveling in the rift, and now you're suffused with a fragment of the drift. Did I say rift? I meant drift.
It's the warp minus demons.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
It's basically, if you played Warhammer 40K, it's going to sound familiar.
I don't have time for another lore, but I've never committed any time to Warhammer whatsoever, and everything that I hear about it makes me think that it's actually the perfect lore for me.
It might be.
Steph is right. The drift does pull in bits of other planes, so there could be demons.
That's true.
It's the warp with less demons. Now with demons!
Yeah. All right. Okay. I will note elves, dwarves, halflings, not in the book.
Space elves, space dwarves.
But you can just play one of those. That's the thing.
That's true.
So if it's not in the book, usually I would say with DM permission, as a caveat, with DM permission, you can usually, that's one of the appeals of Starfinder, is that if you want to play an elf, but in space, you can do that with DM permission, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So ancestries. We've got 10 ancestries. We had 27 backgrounds. They all feel very sci-fi for the most part. I love that tech support and vid gamer are background options. So like I'm looking at these backgrounds like I could just build myself in this game. I just human pick one of those two backgrounds, whichever you prefer. There's a programmer
really?
general feat.
You think human for yourself, not Yosoki?
I don't know. I don't like shoving things in my cheeks.
I'm just
what
kidding.
else do Yosoki do besides
That's a lie,
disappoint
first of
me?
all, sir.
All right, fine.
Steph says that Icon is just an influencer. So, like, Ash, you could be an icon, right?
Yeah.
Clearly.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, VidGamer.
I'll be a smuggler.
It's an influence. That's funny. That's really funny.
okay. Also, so Pathfinder and Starfinder 2, they're supposed to be intercompatible. Like, it's very much the intent that you can take options from one, take them into the other, and like both directions it should work. We could do an entire campaign where we build ourselves as Starfinder characters and then drop them into Pathfinder.
That would actually be kind of funny if, like, Golarion just exists in a time bubble outside of time or whatever, and it's still like a medieval fantasy, and we rediscover Golarion and land on it with our starship, and it's just like, oh, everything's medieval, and we're now high-tech aliens. It's actually kind of a rad idea for a campaign, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, you just have to figure out if you really want to commit. You just have to figure out an explanation for, like, why does my ray gun only do 1d8 when this crossbow also does 1d8 damage?
I haven't charged batteries in a while. That's all. Wasn't designed to work in this heavy of gravity. This could be fun. I think part of what's exciting about Starfinder is you could pick a class where it's like, my power is pew pew, and I don't need any kind of magic to actually make this work.
Yeah, this also works with classes, by the way. So if you want to just play like a wizard in Starfinder, Tyler, you can do that.
And I shall, sir.
Of course. Why try anything? Why try anything new when I could just?
He's going to try something new.
Boring.
Fireballs in space.
It's not new.
That's fair. All right, fine.
Yeah, I'm sad they didn't include a Technomancer either, Steph. But maybe they might add, like, this is just a baseline. They might do like what they did with Pathfinder 2, is add more classes as time goes on. So who knows?
Yeah, there will be a Space Player Core 2.
Oh, according to Rocco, Technomancer is supposed to be in the February playtest. So
okay,
no,
that's cool.
It's actually the February playtest.
February? Oh yeah, it is February.
Hey, this is RPGBot. We don't make fun of anyone for misspellings except me.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, we do.
Especially when they're fun to say. You give me a bunch of consonants, I'm not doing that.
All right. So speaking of classes, hey, let's look at the classes that are in the book, because there's 6 of them and they're cool.
They're all cool. I love them.
Yeah. All right. So Randall and I got to play a 1-hour basically combat demo of Starfinder 2E at Gen Con. Randall got to play an envoy. Randall, what was your experience?
It was cool. So the whole purpose of the class was I got to yell out at everybody things that they should do that were very obvious that they should do. So for instance, there's somebody over there and they're attacking us. What I would say, I would give the advice to everybody. It's like, hey, let's shoot that guy. And then if everybody else did it, they got a bonus. And I was like, yeah. Better than that, though. I could be like, hey, everybody, let's shoot this guy. And then I could point at that person with my laser gun and I could shoot them. And then I got an additional bonus because I was leading by example on shooting that guy.
Yeah.
And then everybody benefited from that even better. And I think that's the promise of the envoy, right? Like, you go in, you call out very obvious things that we could be doing. And if people make the choices to do those things, everybody wins.
Yeah, Steph is saying that it's like a martial archetype meets an investigator. I would disagree with that. I would say it's kind of like a cross between a warlord and from 4E and a bard is basically the vibe I'm getting. Like, they're definitely a face of the group because they rely on charisma and they have a lot of things that allow them to be better in social situations. Like, there's one that just flat out gives them advantage on like diplomacy and intimidation and all that stuff, which is crazy. But yeah, Randall's right. Like, the main gimmick of the class is these, what are they called?
Directives.
Yeah. That you shout out a directive. If your fellow players follow it, they get a bonus. They don't have to follow it if they don't want to, but then they don't get the bonus. And if you do it yourself in the same round that you did the directive, then you increase the bonus, which is a cool play style. People liked the warlord in 4E, so I think people will like it here.
Yeah. All right, Mystics. So this is like the healer class. This is the cleric equivalent-ish. I think this thing's really cool. This is the class where the iconic is the bug people. We had one of those at the table, and like as we were passing around the pre-gens, I saw that on top and just passed it to my right without looking at what it was.
That's actually exactly how that happened. Nope.
Steph in the chat, apparently the character's name is Chick Chick, which, yeah, that sounds like a bug noise. Sure.
Yeah.
The iconic for the Mystic.
For the Mystic.
Mystics are so cool. They're also really good at healing.
So they're a full caster, but they also get this regenerating pool called the Healing Network. Like every turn, you get 4 points regenerating the Healing Network. And as an action, you can spend points from your pool to heal yourself or another creature within 60 feet. So it's like 5e style lay on hands, but it just regenerates every turn.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Play the Mystic if you want a class that provides a new spin on the healer concept while also giving you a strong selection of spell traditions and the ability to create close bonds with your party members.
Yeah. The other thing that's cool about the Mystic is not only can you heal people with this Vitality Network is what it's called. Each subclass that the Mystic has, which is called Connections, gives you a special thing you can do whenever you heal someone with your Vitality Network. So like, for instance, the Akashic one gives you, whenever you transfer Vitality, the target receives a psychic download from the Akashic record and can immediately attempt a recall knowledge action. This doesn't trigger any special abilities, reactions, or free actions that trigger when a creature uses recall knowledge. So just like cool little features like that allow Mystics to not only be great healers, but also really good support casters, I think. Yeah, it looks like a fun class to play.
I agree.
All right, go ahead and go to Operative.
Yeah.
Rogues, but better.
So I'm going to read the play this if out of the playtest manual. So play an operative if you want to take advantage of guns and deal high damage to your designated targets.
Yeah. We had an operative at the table during that combat playtest, and they did so much damage. And if I remember correctly, like the guy rolled crits on every single one of his attacks.
Yes. There were 3 things to kill, and I'm 90% certain that character killed all 3 things to kill.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to play like Ghost from StarCraft, it's basically what this is. They even have a subclass called Ghost. So I see where you're coming from there. I see what you're doing there, Paizo.
I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm into it as well. Yeah, the subclasses are all really cool. Like you get everybody gets an exploit, an enhanced exploit, which are these cool actions that you get. Ghost is really good at like infiltration. There's sabotage, which allows you to sort of disable people's tech or tech creatures and stuff like that, which is that's just cool. Skirmisher, I think, it's just basically your Han Solo. You go in and you just shoot people with pistols, or you could just play a sniper, which I'm a big fan of snipers. So that's fun.
A lot of their feats also give you ways to shoot people as a reaction. Like one of them is called Hair Trigger. Basically anything that would provoke reactive strike within the first range increment of your weapon, you just get to shoot them as a reaction. And it's all the same things as reactive strike. So like if you crit, you can disrupt the action. So it's gonna be really effective.
Yeah, no, Hair Trigger is really good.
But it does go back to the meta that, you were talking about some of the sidebars that they're giving us. Like one of the big metas for this game is you are not meant to be in melee combat, and you're not really even meant to be in close range combat. Combat is meant to happen a little bit more spread out, where honestly, creatures will probably figure out, maybe I don't want to go anywhere near the operative.
I mean, play a sniper with Hair Trigger. You're going to be killing things real quick. Because you have such a long range. It's just like, nope. It's
like the safety donut has become a safety funnel cake. Just
I mean, if you just want to put out so much damage that it makes rogues cry, I think play the operative.
Okay, I just wanted to call out the names of some of their feats. Like they have a feat called 360 no scope and a feat called parkour.
I also want to call out they have art of that jellyfish race with a sniper rifle, and I love it so much.
Like tentacles wrapped around it like rope.
It's fantastic. Oh god.
I'm noticing a lot of the feats in this are like cultural references or jokes that we would recognize today. Like it feels very silly in like a way that doesn't take away from the game, but like when you take the feat, like I know what that is, and that makes me laugh.
That's always been kind of Starfinder. Is it's kind of like an intersection between Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it doesn't really take itself all that seriously, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah, Rocco's pointing out one called Kill Steal. If you like, I remember that one specifically. It's called Kill Steal. If an ally hits an enemy twice with strikes on their turn but doesn't kill them, you can shoot them as a reaction.
Yeah, I love that. There's also a little tangent here. So I was in my long running campaign. There was this one NPC that I had who was like a Viking who was constantly competing with one of the player characters who was his nominal king, and he had the worst luck where he would almost kill a creature, and then one of the players would intentionally kill steal him, and so I played it up as he got so angry. He's like, I had it. Why did you take my kill from me?
All right. Steph in the chat is saying, mention carcinization. I think I skimmed across that. Randall, have you found it?
No, search is failing me. Give me a second.
All right. I'm going to have to do this from memory. There's a spell called carcinization, which you can transform a target creature into a crab partially. They can willingly fail, in which case they gain benefits for being part crab. If they resist...
operative feature?
No, it's a spell.
No, it's a spell.
Oh, it's a spell.
If they resist and fail, they get clumsy 2 as you partially transform them into a crab.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Be a crab as a debuff.
Actually, wonderful. So now that I'm thinking about it, so you know how everybody says Treasure Planet stole a lot from Spelljammer?
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
It feels like Guardians of the Galaxy is like the direct adaptation of Starfinder. It's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a willing target may intentionally choose to take the effects of a critical failure without the clumsy, stupefied, or sickened conditions. The critical failure, a willing target fully transforms into a crab as if it had cast animal form, heightened to the same rank as the spell. An unwilling target is transformed. Partial crab-like being and becomes clumsy 2, stupefied 2, and sickened 2. I love the partial crab-like being because that's... hey, Jim, figure it out.
Yeah. Crab people. Crab
people.
Honestly, I would just walk around like Zoidberg all day, every day.
Yeah.
Surrender your secrets to Zoidberg. Hey, you may not have a girlfriend anymore, but at least you have Zoidberg. You all still have Zoidberg.
All right, my first Starfinder character, species. Why not Zoidberg?
Why not Zoidberg? Yeah, please give us a lobster race, please.
Everybody write that in. Like, that's the one thing.
So,
lobster race.
Yeah. Next class is probably one of the most iconic to Starfinder, and it's the Solarian, which is basically Starfinder Jedi, is what they are. That's what they're advertised as.
Okay. I played the Solarian in the combat demo that Randall and I did, and I failed every single roll that I made.
Yeah, it feels right.
Every roll, and I felt so cool doing it. Aside from the failure pit, like, okay, so they have this cool mechanic where they oscillate between states. They're all about stars and taking power from the stars, and they use a solar weapon, which is basically it's a lightsaber.
It's a lightsaber. Yep.
Yeah. The iconic Solarian is one of the catfolk things. The Patras uses a lightsaber whip, essentially. Very cool character. Great art. Loved playing him. So there's Photon attuned and there's Graviton attuned. I think I have the name Photon wrong, but indulge me. And a bunch of features.
It's Photon attuned and Graviton attuned.
Great, I got it. So you start combat and you go into your favorite one of those two, depending on your subclass. And then you have class feats and actions that have, I think it's the oscillate trait or something. But you use that action, it does something based on what state you're in, and then it flips your state. So you have this really cool mechanic where it's not just like run in and hit stuff. You have to think like at least a few actions ahead, maybe a turn ahead, and think like, okay, I'm going to need to do this version of this action. What state am I in? What state do I need to be in? How do I get to that state? And then like, how do I make that all matter? So like, in addition to running around and hitting stuff and controlling the battlefield, you're managing this cool state mechanic that like, you're essentially playing two characters that swap back and forth real fast.
Okay, so when it's panache on a swashbuckler, you hate switching states and having to do a cycle, but all of a sudden I call it photonic.
No, but the difference is that you can still do cool things regardless of what attunement you're in. It still does a thing.
Swinging from chandelier is awesome.
Yeah, but that's on off. This is like red blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still on. You're still on. You're still doing things. Yeah. It's not like if I don't turn the switch on, I don't get to do anything. I am in a different state, but still an active one.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference.
I'm probably remembering this wrong. One of the options I had, it was like a 15-foot emanation. If I was in graviton state, all enemies in the area were pulled closer to me. If I was in photon state, all enemies in the area took fire damage.
What subclass was the iconic?
I do not remember.
We were level 1, so there weren't really a lot of things happening anyway.
I mean, it's Starfinder, Pathfinder, so classes are still busy at level 1, but yeah.
I think unattuned is the only one that switches your attunement state, but I could be wrong.
Let's see. We were also playing, like, it may not have been like the final versions that made it into the playtest book. I'm honestly not sure. I do not remember. I would have to pull up the pre-gen and figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then just to read it aloud. So for the Solarian, play the Solarian if you want to try a class that can mix things up in melee while also having powerful control abilities you can use in combat.
All right. Soldier, yes. It's fighter with big gun. It's basically the vibe.
Space Marines.
I remember when they originally announced Starfinder 2nd Edition, they said, it's coming. It's going to be compatible with the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules. Here are the first 5 levels of the soldier class. You can just take this in your Pathfinder game. Let us know what you think. And the immediate feedback was, this is just fighter worse. Like, fighter bad. Like that. So it seems like it has grown into its identity since then. And now it's big, tanky soldier guy. Rocco, what did you say in the chat? Like, well, now I can't find what he said. It was really funny. Man, I'm the worst at this.
Yeah.
But they focus a lot on area damage with like automatic guns, so like machine guns, assault rifles, etc., flamethrowers, rocket launchers, like things that do area damage, suppressive fire, and also just drawing attention to themselves and tanking a bunch of hits. So it's not like the fighter fantasy of like, I am the best at weapons and I'm going to crit all the things. So you're more focused on being a tank than like killing.
You're more of like a frontline kind of person, but with a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit me.
You're basically Rex from Mass Effect. So yeah, that feels like a good comparison.
Rocker repeated himself. I really like Soldier because I am heavy weapons guy. Yeah, you're the heavy from Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, the heavy. I mean, Steph, technically you're right. Shepard Soldier is one of the things that Shepard can choose, but he's also could be like an envoy, or he or she could be an envoy or a Solarian or any of that stuff. So yeah.
Steph is making Mass Effect jokes. I feel like we've hit enough sci-fi franchises for tonight.
I mean, that is Starfinder pulls from all of them. So again, this is a game that really scratches a particular kind of itch, especially for me, which I don't think Spelljammer does. So if you were just like, I was hoping for more sci-fi and less fantasy, check out Starfinder.
Wait, my space pirate goblins didn't do it for you?
The space clowns might. Try that next time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give me like Mass Effect vibes. It gives me D&D vibes, but in space.
Look, I will get Mass Effect vibes when my ship turns around halfway to its destination so it can decelerate.
All right, let's talk Witch Warper.
This is such a cool class.
Yeah.
So Witch Warpers, their whole gimmick is, their whole flavor is that they are a paradox. Like they're not supposed to exist in this reality for one reason or another. And so they are essentially rewriting reality with their spells. which is such a cool flavor.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really cool. So they're essentially witches, but the Starfinder version, because you get a paradox, which is essentially like your patron, and you get an anchor, which is kind of like your familiar, but it's not really like, you don't get like a pet, but it's like essentially that kind of stuff. But yeah, like there are different paradoxes. So there's like analyst, which gives you like you just are open to the mathematics of the universe. An anomaly, like you're just not supposed to exist. My favorite is gap influenced, which is you were somehow lived through the gap that we talked about at the beginning, but weren't supposed to. So like maybe you got put into a stasis field, like you were born during the gap, but you got put into a stasis field or something like that. And then precog, which was its own class in Starfinder 1. They actually explained that was one of the sidebars. It's like, wasn't precog its own class before? And they're like, yeah, but we thought it and the Witch Warper overlapped too much. And we figured, let's just combine them because precogs had the anchors. So they just decided, that fits with Witch Warper. Let's just combine the two.
Yeah. And I think it kind of makes sense. It gives them the same like big subclass, small subclass mechanic like the psychic does, where you have the conscious mind and the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Witch Warper has this cool mechanic called warp reality, where they create this zone of something happens in there. And what happens in there depends on like feats you take, your subclass. Let's see, Randall, Matthew was playing the Witch Warper at the table with us, right?
No, it was Landon.
Oh, Landon, that's right. Your other tall son. So Landon, 14, 15, 14, early teens. Anyway, mid to early teens, played the Witch Warper, like had the character sheet, which was like 5 sheets because it's even at level 1, very complicated class. He had a little trouble figuring out what to do with warp reality because like you put it out and then you have to sustain it, which means like you start your turn, you have to spend an action to sustain it. It's like, great. So basically every single turn, you only get 2 actions. What wasn't well explained on the character sheet is there's a bunch of actions that you can take that will automatically sustain your warp reality. Like if you are in your warp reality area or adjacent to it, casting any of your level spells will sustain the thing. So just the first level experience where you don't have a whole lot of options to sustain your warp reality without just spending an action to do it, like that's going to be really annoying and frustrating for people. And one of the things they call out in the sidebar is they're worried about the action economy being too complicated for this class. So like,
I could see that.
All right, and Rocco's correcting me in the chat. It's only casting your signature spells that sustains the thing. So like even more restrictive, but you do have options beyond just burning an action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, with the character sheet, but not having a full class in front of you, like, so I was sitting next to him trying to like look through to figure out what to do. It was a cool impact. So the thing that he could do at the time is make difficult terrain not difficult for the party and keep it as difficult for enemies, or vice versa, make terrain that would otherwise not be difficult terrain. And of course, it happened to be that the combat field that we're on had a giant circle of difficult terrain. One of the things that kind of sucked is there was
precog then, because that's what precogs can do.
I think so.
Yeah, their quantum field gives a -5 status penalty to its speed and a +5 status penalty to your ally's speed.
Yeah, it feels right. And then the thing that was disappointing to him, though, is that area also was providing cover. And so he was like, oh, well, like, does he get rid of the cover too? And of course, it mechanically doesn't.
Yeah. It was a good time. We got through.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the classes.
Yeah, I think all of them are very cool.
Yeah.
I do worry about the Witch Warper's action economy, but it seems like they're worried about that too. So give them feedback. If you don't like it, then maybe they'll change it. But yeah, I think all of the classes are pretty cool, and I would want to play every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the operative, like, it's a little too deadly, maybe. Like, it's deadly to the point that everyone else wonders why they showed up to the encounter.
The argument I would make about the operative is they also have an action tax, which is aim. They lose a significant amount of damage if they don't spend an action aiming. So that's where you're going to see some pushback.
Okay.
Essentially, yeah. But essentially as an operative, especially if you're playing like anything that's not the melee fighter, you're going to just want to set up shop in one area and not move from that spot. And just spend your movement action on aim, and then you're good to go.
I think the Solarian is going to struggle, like in a game that is so focused on ranged combat, being the only melee class, unless they give it just a ton more mobility than I think I had at least. Now, granted, it was level 1 characters. Maybe there's more mobility options that I haven't looked at. But being a melee-only class in a game that's all about ranged combat is going to have some problems.
But you get a sun sword.
I sure do.
Yeah.
If only I could use it to block lasers.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, hold on, let me double check if you can change it. I think you can still change it into a ranged weapon, but let me double check.
I had the option to use it as a ranged weapon, but it was a range of like 20 feet.
Yeah, no, it's only melee weapons. But one of the pictures they have Solarian wielding a gun, so you still can attack at range. And you have that solar flare thing that allows you to, force damage a person. So there's that.
Yeah.
So
it was
you do
fine.
have ranged
it was worse
options.
than my pistol. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have ranged options. Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So no sci-fi RPG would be complete without equipment. So just quick look. There's lots of guns, as you would expect. There are melee weapons, and they feel very sci-fi. Like there's laser swords and laser axes and all kinds of stuff. The weapons and armor use improvements and upgrades instead of fundamental runes and properties runes. They work very, very similarly, except improvements are just like scale from 1 to 6 instead of like your striking rune and your potency rune, and they're separate things that you upgrade. It's going to work the same way, practically. There's also cool stuff like body modifications. I found one that costs like a pittance. It's like 5 credits. It's essentially a permanent contact lens, and whenever you see someone who you have met before, it shows you their name. You never have to remember people's names.
I like that.
Yeah. I'd pay for that in real life.
Yeah, that would be great. One thing that we did skip that I think is important to shout out is there are 2 new skills. That's right. There's also new ways to use old skills, I think. But the 2 new ones that are important are computers and piloting, which are going to factor very heavily. Piloting allows you to, pilot your starship. Computers allow you to hack things, program certain things, access the infosphere, which is essentially the internet. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. There's some other new rules for sci-fi stuff, gravity, air density, radiation, things that you'll run into in space that you probably wouldn't in your standard fantasy game. They added a couple of new conditions, glitching, which you make a flat check. The DC is 10 plus your glitching value. If you fail, you just don't act. If it's an item, you make the flat check when you try to use the item, and if you fail, the action is wasted. So like glitching is not messing around. It's probably too good. They dropped it to like 5 plus.
You know what can impose glitching?
Operatives.
Operatives are probably just the most powerful class in Starfinder. They're probably going to have to readjust some things.
Yeah, I hope they do.
It'll be fun while it lasts.
Yeah, operatives are just too powerful. They also added new spells. You know what is a glaring miss? A glaring omission from this book?
What?
Where are my damn starships?
Oh, yeah. Okay. They're gonna have to give those to us at some point.
I know. I was expecting it. Like they get to the part about starships and space stations, and then it's just like talks about airlocks.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
Rocco says that they are planned for a later test.
Okay, that's good because it's like such a glaring omission. But yeah,
okay, we'll get there. It's the first like full. They put it in a physical thing playtest.
Yeah, no,
let's not get too greedy.
Let's not get too greedy. Yeah.
All right, so we have the playtest in front of us. Are you excited to play it? Let's start there.
Oh yes,
honestly,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, is it good? Do you think this is going to work?
I think so. I think there's some adjustments that need to be made. I'm with Tyler.
Yeah.
Solarians maybe need to have better ranged options. Operatives probably need to be nerfed. What is it? Switch warpers need to have their action economy tested. I don't want to say that warp reality is just going to immediately be bad. I need to play it and see it in action to judge fairly for myself as to whether it's good or bad. Yeah, but overall, strong start. I would say. I like where it's headed. I'm excited to play this. Like, I've already talked to my Planescape group. Once we finish Planescape, we're planning on doing a Starfinder game. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm very excited.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't generally get super excited about science fantasy settings with the exception of Star Wars, but like the classes feel really cool and I want to push all of their buttons and I don't know how I'm going to do that other than playing Starfinder.
Yeah, see, I was so excited for this because I love science fantasy. It's such an underrated genre and one I don't feel that gets enough attention. It's just Star Wars and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And, there's so many good potential for cool stuff, which I'm glad that Starfinder is getting that attention because it was already cool. Like Starfinder 1 is pretty beloved it has a pretty big cult following, but I'm glad that a new generation of people who weren't familiar with it are now being introduced to it because it's a cool setting, it's a cool system. I'm excited for it to become more popular. So
yeah.
All right, we have a question of the week this week. This week, our question of the week comes to us from Gaucho99 in the podcast chat as a medium.
Oh, hey, Gaucho. Sorry that I stressed you out today at our session.
Never too late to say you're sorry. Do you like hero points, or do they essentially cheapen the game by making the players always win? I mean, I'll take a first swing at this. Yeah, hero points are great. I don't think that they break anything, honestly, because my players know they have them. Like, I repeatedly have players use them on like stupid skill checks. Like they're not saving them for the biggest moment because they start every session with one, and if we play for long enough, they know they're going to get another.
Yeah, I like hero points, and before I even moved to Pathfinder 2, I was already doing something similar, which is in 5e, I always start my sessions with everybody gets a free inspiration, and it's reroll, not like you have to call it beforehand. So, it lessens the sting for my players when they have this really cool thing they want to do, and then it fails, and it feels really bad, but then I'm like, hey, you have your session inspiration. Like, So even if it doesn't work, it gets people excited. I will say when it comes to Pathfinder 2, especially from my perspective, because I run shorter sessions, I feel Pathfinder 2 is a little bit too generous with the hero points in that you get one every hour, which feels like too much for me. Like, I think one a session is pretty good, especially for shorter sessions. And then if a player does something cool, you can give them another hero point, which is what I like doing. But I do recognize that the game expects them to get at least one hero point every hour. And I've had players complain when I don't do that. So I do it, but against my own will, I will say I would prefer it to be less.
Yeah, but we play 2-hour sessions, and essentially our party is getting one per session with, of course, like you said, if they do something awesome, they're going to get it. I think part of the reason that this isn't game-breaking in Pathfinder 2 is because the scale of the numbers get more significant, and critical failure and critical success adds another dimension to what might happen. Like, if you fail to roll the first time, unless you've rolled like a 2 or a 3, a lot of times when you're using that hero point, you're using the hero point on something you legitimately might fail.
Yeah, Steph makes a very good point. I think the reason why they're more generous in Pathfinder 2 is because hero points replace the roll. It's not advantage. So that's fair. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, that makes me feel better about it.
Yeah, I mean, the chance that, like this is kind of what I was getting at a second ago, the fact that, sure, you failed that, you might critically fail it next time.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to live with it. The nature of the numbers versus 5th edition make it so that, yeah, it's a great reward. Like, I don't want to discount hero points are wonderful, but it's nothing like, it is not automatic success.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if your GM is using hero points as like advantage, then yeah, I would see where you're coming from, Gaucho, which maybe is how I communicated it in our games, but I don't think I did. I've always been picking the role the later of the rolls, but maybe I just didn't explain that well enough because every time they've rolled a hero point, it's mostly gone in their favor.
But yeah, you usually use it when you failed.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you still fail. All hail the Leisure Illuminati.
Hail.
Hail. I'm Randall James. You'll find me at amateurjack.com and on Twitter and Instagram at JackAmateur.
I'm Tyler Campsteel. You'll find me dying. RPGBOT.net, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, RPGBOT.Net, most other socials as RPGBot.
Number 1, my name is Ash Eli, and you can find me on Twitter at Graven Ashes, exploring the stars and seeking out bold new civilizations. If you want me to run Starfinder for you when it fully releases, find me on startplaying.games. Engage. My Patrick Stewart needs work.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Hey, link in the show notes.
To Patrick Stewart?
No, to Ash's game. Like if you want to play
Oh.
a game, start playing .games with Ash Eli. There's a link in the show notes so you can find it. Okay, I got a couple of things that I want to talk about tonight. The first thing I want to talk about, we love doing this podcast. It makes us very happy to do it. If you like us doing this podcast and want us to keep doing it, if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you could go on your favorite social media platform and be like, hey, these guys, like I like listening to them, you might like it too. Probably people you're associated with would be like, oh yeah, these guys, and it'd be great. That would make us happy. The second thing I'll say, we have affiliate links for source book other materials that we talk about on the podcast. They're linked in the show notes. Occasionally we even say like in the podcast, like link in the show notes. When you support those things, it really impacts us. It helps us to do this every week. And so we appreciate that as well, including if you like to play tabletop RPGs. I know sometimes it's hard to find a DM or a GM to run a game, but we know a guy who will do that. It's Ash. So link in the description, you can go find that as well. And lastly, the thing that I'll bring up is one way that you could directly support us continuing to do this podcast is on Patreon. There's a lot of options on Patreon. I think I can get through them pretty quickly. Essentially, we have 2 parallel $3 tiers. You can get your choice of ad-free access to RPGBOT.net or ad-free podcast episodes and access to live stream podcast recordings like this one. We love the folks who come into the recordings. I don't know. It's fantastic for me. I enjoy it pretty tremendously. At our $5 tiers and above, you'll get both of those things, and you'll also get access to the RPGBOT.Discord. And you can find all of that at patreon.com/RPGBOT.
I like you doing this off the cuff from now. Going forward, it's nice. It's cool.
I feel like we need some like dramatic spacey music playing in the background behind
Tyler, it's already there. It's been there the entire time through the magic of Dan.
Yeah, Dan will put it there.
Dan's gonna find some real good sci-fi music and then find every excuse to use it, and it'll be great every time.
Yes. Okay, you mentioned your favorite Star Trek episode. I'm going to mention mine. Is the first time the Star Trek Next Generation crew meets the Borg for the first time. That is a very good episode. Very creepy, too.